One. Good morning, everyone. My name is Beth, and I am with the Education Alliance. And at the Education Alliance, our mission is to bring businesses and communities together to support public schools. And we are passionate about helping students explore career opportunities and develop the skills they need for future success. And one of the ways that we do that is through programs like this, our virtual work-based learning program, which connects students with industry professionals to gain real-world insights and experiences. Today, I am excited that we have the opportunity to partner with a financial advisor with RBC Wealth Management to give us a first-hand look at a career in this particular field. Good morning, Craig. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Well, just go ahead and get started.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Well, my name's Craig Bowden. I'm Beth's husband, and I'm a financial advisor. So I manage people's money, and I work for the Royal Bank of Canada, or a subsidiary of theirs called RBC Wealth Management. So we're a U.S. subsidiary headquartered out of Minneapolis. So the RBC, the Royal Bank of Canada, is a global bank that's in a bunch of different countries, I think 30 some countries, but they own us. I only deal with people in the United States or U.S. citizens that live abroad temporarily or permanently. What I do is people give me their retirement money, and I make sure that it lasts for the rest of their life and that they achieve their goals and everything and don't run out of money. Nobody wants to run out of money. But the company I work for, we offer banking services, investments, and we are worldwide. We are a global bank. We operate across Canada, the U.S., and internationally. And RBC really values innovation, puts a lot of focus on customer service, and of course, I'm constantly financially educating my clients and figuring out ways to make their finances work for them. The part but RBC also does corporate banking, dealing with corporations. I don't do a lot of that or anything, but we do have people that do that. We are constantly offering technology and innovation with their online access, and we put a lot of focus on cybersecurity. People want to know that their money is safe, and enhancing the ways that you can use our platform to carry out your financial needs, like bill pay and stuff like that. And of course, we have to make sure that the regulations are met. The financial industry is probably the most regulated industry there is. So we have a lot of rules, and we have a lot of people that help us make sure we're following the rules and educate us. Required education. So I'm a financial advisor. I'm allowed to buy and sell stocks and bonds and investments. To do that, you have to have a license. I have a Series 7 license and a Series 66 license, which is through the SEC, and that you have to pass those exams. They're pretty tough exams in order to be able to be registered and be able to trade stocks and things like that. But as far as the required education, I would say we have about 2,000 financial advisors across 48, or I believe 46 states. Might be a few more states now, but I'd say most of them have a college degree. Not all of them have a business degree or something like that. But I would say most of them do. I don't know any that don't. But I would be surprised if there's not at least one financial advisor that doesn't have a college degree. But it's just it's not something that's required to have your Series 7 license or anything like that. But it's typical. The salary, we work off commissions, so we all make different types of money. It all depends on your clients, our clients, and what amounts of money they have invested with us, and what we charge them to do that to invest their money. So basically, each financial advisor runs their own practice, kind of like a doctor runs their own practice. So we all make different types of money, but the guys and girls that make the most money, that we have advisors that make $5 million a year. We have there's a guy in Huntington that makes $2.5 million a year roughly, and but our income depends on the value of our accounts and the fees that we charge and stuff like that. So it's different each year. It's not exactly a salary. But we also have a lot of people that work for us that support us, our assistants, and you might think of them as a secretary or something like that. They're carrying out a lot of functions for us. For example, if somebody needs to make a withdrawal from their account, I will email my assistant Misty, and she will take care of that. Or if we need to open up a new account, she takes care of the paperwork. She does a lot of administrative things, and I don't have to do that. So that frees up my time to get new clients or service existing clients. So their job is basically to make us more efficient, and some of them get paid more than others. We're allowed to share some of our income with them and bonus them, and so I would say they make, and not all of them have college degrees. Some of them, I would say most of them do not. I would say they make at least $40,000 a year, and some of them make 125,000 a year or $150,000 a year. RBC doesn't pay them all that money. We as advisors pay them bonus income and things like that. So they make all different types of money too. But they make good salaries. I'd say the lowest financial advisor, after a couple of years, if they're starting brand new, is probably making at least $100,000 a year, something like that. But it's all across the spectrum. The good thing about my career is that the sky's the limit, so you're not capped at a certain salary level. The harder you work, the more money you make, and so that's one of the great things about my career, is that you really get rewarded for your hard work. What you put into it, you get out of it.
Great. I think this would be a good time for us to stop and see if the students have any questions. I know that he told you a lot about the career of being in a lot of the finance industry. So he's going to be talking a lot more about budgeting and how that can relate to all of us once you start making money in any type of job. But before he moves on to that, I want to see if anybody has any questions about his career or a career in finance.
Yeah, any questions?
Any questions from the students?
I don't think so.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure before we moved on to the budgeting portion. Okay, I think Jeannie has a question, and Dale. Thank
As
you.
always. Well, just a comment. I was thinking as Craig was sharing with us about kind of setting your own salary because of what you do. What you produce helps your income. And that seems like a really attractive situation. You know, if you don't want to work that hard, you're okay with this amount of money, then you get that. Or if you really want to go gangbusters, kind of sky's the limit. So that seems like an attractive part of this type career. So thanks for sharing that.
It is. It's scary. It's scary too, because you know, your income can go down. You know, if the value
Right.
of accounts go down, your income goes down. So it's scary too. But you know, the person you should have the most faith in is yourself.
Mm.
That's a
If
great,
you
that's a
trust
great,
yourself,
Yeah.
you can get past that fear, and then you're rewarded for it.
great.
But
Thank you.
So,
All right,
Greg,
Dale?
I have two questions. First, you talked about the test that you have to take, or the multiple tests, I guess, to be at different levels. Is there a amount of times you can take it if you don't pass it on the first time? Is it something you can do over and over again to get to that point if you don't pass, or is it you take it once, you don't pass, you're out? And and then the second part would be when you're first starting out, is it 100% commission based even when you first start, or is there some salary built in to be able to get you kind of on your path?
Okay. First question is taking the tests, and if you don't pass them at first, it's been 15 years since I've took the test, so I passed on the first time. I'm not sure about the options. I think there are limits, or there might be a waiting period in between retaking the test. But they are hard tests. The Series 7 test it's a 6-hour test. There's a mandatory break during it, and it's mentally challenging. And it's a big book. There's a lot of things that you need to know. But to pass it, you only have to get a 70% on it. So if you do good and you study hard, you should be able to get a 70% on it. But I'm not aware that that you can't just keep taking it. But there may be limits on that, but they definitely let you retake it a second time. I know that for sure. The second question is, well, tell me your second question again.
Is there when you begin your career, is
Oh,
there
the salary, if there's any help when you start.
right?
There is, when you recruit a new advisor that has no clients at first, RBC, it's different with each company. You know, there's a lot of brokerage firms. We're not the only brokerage firm in the country. But the way it works at RBC is they'll pay them a salary for the first 2 years of working, and that kind of helps float you to get started and to obtain clients. And then after that 2 years, you're kind of on your own. But in our industry, what's typical is that a younger advisor will team up, or a newer advisor. You know, some people do start this later in life, start as new advisors later in life. So not everybody's just like straight out of college or something. But they will team up with an advisor that has more experience and a larger client base. Because once you get so many clients, it gets tough to service them all for one person. So they will form a team to where there's multiple advisors assigned to that account, those accounts to support each other. For example, like if you're on vacation or something like that, somebody's covering for you, one of your team members. And just like the more experienced advisor, the higher income advisor, just like we share with our assistants to make us more productive, they'll typically share some of their income with the younger advisor in return for supporting them and making them more efficient. So there are ways to kind of help you. It's not like you're going to make, you know, $1,000 or something a month, whatever you shoot, you kill for, coming right off the bat.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing about your career and different aspects of a career in finance. So if there's no more questions, we're going to move on to the second part of the presentation.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about budgeting and smart financial decision making, and I'm going to keep it really basic. I understand you all are seniors in high school, and so you might not have a lot of bills. Some of you probably do have some bills and everything like that. So these things that we're going to talk about might not seem very real to you, but they will be soon. Let's start here. So why should you budget? You need to stay in control of your money and to reach your financial goals, and you need to make sure you don't run out of money. If you're spending more money, than you are bringing in, then you're either not going to have any money to buy something that you need, or you're going to have to go in debt to give it to pay for the thing that you need. And debt is a horrible thing. It's okay if you get it, if you go into debt responsibly, but anytime you're borrowing money, you're spending money that you're going to make in the future before you make it. So you can get yourself into trouble there. But basically what we need to do is track your income, what money comes in, and the expenses that you have of money going out. So you need to make sure that you're always paying yourself first, even if it's just a little. You need to be financially secure. You need to make sure that you're not spending 100% of the money that you're bringing in. You need to save part of that money every month, because there's going to be unexpected things that happen that you weren't planning for. For example, if you need to get new tires on your car, or you need to go get an oil change, or you have an issue with that, something breaks down. And like I said before, credit, you need to be very smart about any time that you borrow money, because one, you get charged interest, so it's not free to borrow money, and number two, you have to repay it. And if you're living paycheck to paycheck already, and you go into debt, then you don't have any extra money to repay the debt. So you need to be very smart about that ahead of time and know what that payment's going to be and fit that into your budget before you borrow the money. And if it doesn't fit into the budget, then you need to reconsider what you're spending money on, because you're going to get yourself into trouble. Let me ask you a question. If you got $100 right now, what would you get with it? Would you buy food or snacks? Go ahead and spend it all on food or snacks. Go buy new clothes or shoes, spend it all. Would you go get a concert ticket, or do a fun experience? Or would you save it because it's extra money that you're not used to getting? If you're walking down the street and you saw $100 bill on the sidewalk, what would you do with it?
All right, let's hear from some of the students. So if someone just gave you $100, want to hear from some of you. Choose one of the ones there on the side that what would you do? Would you buy food? Would you buy new clothes or shoes? Would you do something fun like concert, or would you save it? And you could be completely honest here. If you just had $100, I'd like to hear from a couple of you guys.
Yeah, be great. A couple of you would share what you'd want to do. It's okay. There's no right or wrong answer. Just be honest.
Of these four? Or about these four right here? That's me, I get food. Taco Bell, here I come. How about you guys on this side? What would you get?
And if none of them apply, if you'd spend it on something else, you can tell. That's fine.
Anybody else?
So I heard food, and specifically Taco Bell. $100 is a lot of Taco Bell too. Was there another one we missed besides food?
What'd you say?
We have a student who said he would buy weights for his weight room.
Oh, okay. That's neat. Weights for your weight room. Anybody else, even if it's not on the list, something you would buy if you had $100? Anybody else? What about you, Jeannie? What would you do with $100 right now?
I'd probably do half. The new something, a clothing item, and save 50.
Okay. And then Dale put in the chat that he would save some, spend some, and share some with friends and family. That's awesome. Okay, thank you all for sharing. All right, Craig, go ahead.
But one thing to keep in mind is this is extra money that you're not used to getting. So hopefully you're budgeting correctly to where you're buying yourself enough food and clothes and stuff like that. But you know, it's okay to spend money to spend money. You do need some things. Somebody mentioned buying some weights for their weight rooms. You know, being physically fit is important. You know, that's something that's going to benefit you. But you know, a combination of the two of saving and spending would be, it'd be hard to argue that's not the responsible thing to do, because there's going to be unexpected expenses in life that are needs. For example, if you have an issue with your car, you need to have transportation, and those things can happen out of nowhere at any time. So saving it increases your financial security, and you know, saving part of it is the next best thing. Any questions before I move forward?
I think we're good.
Here we go. Let me ask you all a question. I've got some categories up here, and I want you to classify them as if they are a need or a want. We've got number 1, groceries. Number 2, Netflix. Number 3, coffee shop drink. Number 4, basic clothing, like a winter coat. You know, clothing is a need. Too much clothing is not a need, but you know, a certain level of clothing is a need. We have to have clothes. We have to have jackets, things like that. Number 5 is a cell phone plan. Number 6 is a gaming subscription, and number 7 is toiletries like shampoo and toothpaste.
Okay, so let's hear from the students. So think about, is this something you need, like you have to have it for your life, or is it a want? So number 1 was groceries. Is groceries a need or is that a want?
Guys, look, need.
Bingo. Yep, we have to eat or we'll die.
Yep, you have to have groceries. All right, number 2, Netflix, or it can be any streaming service. If you're not Netflix, maybe you stream Hulu or Max. But number 2, Netflix or any kind of streaming service.
Want.
Bingo. We don't have to watch TV to live.
Although it does sometimes feel like it is definitely a need. It isn't. Okay, what about number 3? Going to a coffee shop and getting a nice coffee or frappuccino, like going to Starbucks or going to one of your local coffee shops. Is that a need or a want, guys?
Want.
Exactly. It's a want.
Okay. Next one is basic clothing, and he gave the example of a winter coat. Is that a need or a want?
Need. Especially around here, need a winter coat. Yeah.
It could be both. You know, if you already have a winter coat and you're wanting to buy another winter coat and the first one's fine, then that second winter coat is a want. But if you don't have a winter coat, you do need a winter coat, then it's a need. So that could be either or.
Okay, next is a cell phone plan. So we all walk around with these cell phones and we have to have a plan that's attached to it. So is that a want or a need?
Need.
Students, yes.
One thing for the emergency.
All right, Craig, they said need. How would you answer that one?
I would say that's a need. We need to be able to communicate. If you're interviewing for a job, you need to have a number for them to call you back at. If you know, it's very difficult to be productive in life if you don't have the ability to communicate. So I would lean pretty heavily that that's a need. But looking at your cell phone plan, you might be able to have a less expensive cell phone plan. So that's something that you can kind of tweak to make sure that it's a need and not a want.
Okay, next is a gaming subscription. So if any of you are gamers out there, I know that you can have a subscription that gives you unlimited gaming or, perhaps buying skins on some of the games. Is that a need or a want?
Want?
Absolutely. I can't think of a way to argue that that's a need.
And the last one is toiletries, and that's your shampoo, your toothpaste, your deodorant, things like that.
Need. Especially for us having a smelly.
Absolutely. I don't think any of us would want to walk around and be sitting beside people that don't, that haven't used the deodorant or the soap or shampoo. So
Yeah, personal hygiene is important. It's a need, and if you're not if you don't manage your personal hygiene, then it can lead to health issues.
good
So
job, guys.
good answers. You all nailed those. So let's build a budget. Let's just pretend everybody's going to earn different amounts of money and have different expenses, and only you will know how much money that you're bringing in, and you need to project it and estimate it ahead of time to know. And then only you are going to know what you spend your money on because you're the one with the choice and you're the one making the decisions. So this is something that nobody else can do for you. But so let's just do a basic exercise and pretend that you earn $500 a month from a part-time job, and you want to save $100, which would be 20%. That'd be one out of every $5 you're wanting to save of that. That would be a high savings rate relative to the amount of money that you make. So that leaves you with $400 to spend. So this is your goal, and you need to figure out a way to make it work. So these are the costs that you have. Rent, household contribution, $200 a month. Groceries and snacks, $100 a month. Cell phone plan, $50 a month. Netflix or streaming, $10 a month. Concert ticket, $60. Eating out, $40. Toiletries, $20. New shoes, $40. All that adds up to $520. So we're over budget. We only have $500. So, we don't have that extra 20. We've got to tweak things a little bit. So this is a way that you may be able to tweak that. The rent, household contribution, that's a need. If it is what it is, maybe you can renegotiate that somehow. But that's something to look at to reduce it, but it's not something that you can get rid of completely. Groceries and snacks, I think say it was $100. Be choosy. That's something that you might be able to cut down. Be choosy about it. Maybe you can shave off $20 there. Maybe you're buying a bag of chips that you don't really need, or maybe you're buying a Kroger brand or a Walmart brand would save you a little bit money compared to a name brand food. That's something that you could look to cut down. Cell phone plan, that's a need. You have to keep that, but that's something to look at. Stop by the store and say, hey, am I on the lowest cost plan for what I use this phone for and the amount of data that I use on the phone? Perhaps you could get on a family plan with your family or a friend and save money that way by bundling. That's something to look at, but it's something that you have to keep. So you, just like the rent household contribution, you want to kind of look for ways to cut down on that, but you might not be able to. The Netflix or streaming, that's something that you should just skip. You ought to be piggybacking off your parents' Netflix plan anyway. I don't know why you have your own plan. Everybody's doing it. I know you're not supposed to, but everybody does that, including Beth and myself. The
I don't know if we're
concert,
supposed to admit that, but
yeah, the concert ticket, that's not a need. I know you might be disappointed you don't get to go to the concert, but that's something that you're able to skip. The eating out, maybe you can cut that down to $20 instead of $40. Just be smarter and more conscious about where you're eating out at. The toiletries, you have to keep that. We talked about that. That's a need, and it was $20 before. So, look for name brand. If you're buying a name brand toiletry, it probably costs more than a Kroger or a Walmart brand. So that might be something that you can cut down on, but or if you buy in bulk from Sam's or something like that, then maybe you can save more money on that. But that's something you got to keep. New shoes, shoes cost different amounts of money. Maybe you can cut down on that. Maybe you can look for a sale. I think it was $40 for new shoes. Maybe you can cut that down to $30. And then hopefully you don't have to buy new shoes every single month. They should be lasting you longer. But this is a good way to cut down and tweak your budget in order to be able to save that $100, because that's important, because there's going to be things that you have to spend money on that will surprise you, that you need to be prepared for, and saving is how you do that. And then hopefully you save enough to where you're not spending all your savings on unexpected expenses, and that way you're able to have a net savings over time. The best example I can think of is if your car breaks down, you got to get it fixed, because if you can't drive and get somewhere, if you don't have transportation, then you're not going to be able to get to your part-time job, which is where you get the money to pay for all these other things that you have to pay for. It's unpredictable when your car is going to break down. Things like that. Does anybody have any questions? Is this the place where we're going to do any do questions, Beth?
yeah. So thank you so much for showing us that simple budgeting activity. I just wanted to make a comment before we open it up for questions. And one thing that I think I've had to learn, that you can still have fun. I don't want it to, sometimes it might seem that budgeting doesn't leave any room for fun, and it doesn't leave any room to do things in life that you might enjoy, but it doesn't always have to be that way. So, for example, Craig told us that, in this instance, you had to skip the concert. Well, maybe that might not be the case every month. Maybe there's other times that you might cut down on your eating out and save money so you can go to that concert. So I think that perhaps when I was your age and I was in high school, budgeting seemed intimidating to me, because it just did not seem fun. It just seemed that I wouldn't be able to do any of the fun stuff, because fun stuff costs money. And I've had to learn that you can still do fun stuff, but you have to, just like he told us, you have to either skip or cut down some other things occasionally. So it takes some pre-planning. and it takes some discipline, but you still can do the fun things. So that's just a personal comment I would like to make. So, but I do think this was a great budgeting activity, and I'd like to see if any of the students or anyone has any questions for you about budgeting, or, like you said earlier, these students are seniors in high school. So pretty soon they're going to be going out and they're going to be making money and getting different types of jobs. So this is your opportunity to ask some of those questions from someone who helps people manage their money. Even if it's just basic questions on how to start saving or questions about money. Because again, when I was your age, I had so many questions before I graduated high school, particularly about credit cards. So yeah, we just want to open it up to see if you guys have any questions.
Questions? Any questions?
Any questions?
Any questions? I think these things are.
Me too. No, they said they don't have any.
Okay. Jeannie and Dale, do you guys have any questions or any added thing you think would be important for us to know? Okay, Dale, thank you.
Yeah, I would, sorry, like Craig to talk about the difference between saving, starting to save when you're 20 versus starting to save when you're 40, and what that does to your ability to have more money when you are at retirement age. The difference between now and 20 years down the road.
That's a good question, Dale. So what on a short-term basis, we need to live within our means. So you need to make sure that you're saving money on a regular basis so that you have positive cash flow, meaning that you've got $100 here that you're not spending, and that's going to accumulate. It'll be 100 if you're able to do it every month, that would be $1,200 a year. And that will build over time, and you can earn interest in a savings account and have your money make money for you. But once you accumulate a certain amount of money, then you can invest it in the stock market, for example, which makes you a lot more interest than a savings account. And that, you might be able to make 10% a year on average. But you need to have short-term money so that in case one of these expenses goes up or your car breaks down or something, that you have money to pay for that. You don't invest that kind of money. But maybe once you get to $5,000 or something, you start investing some of your money. The longer, eventually you're not going to be able to work anymore, or you're going to not want to work anymore once you get older. So you have to save money in order to have money to live off of when you stop working, when you retire. So that's the bigger picture of why it's important to save, is so that you can start saving more for the long term, to where eventually you don't have to work anymore and retire. And the sooner that you start doing that, the longer that your money has to make you money, to make interest for you. And that compounds, and it seems like magic, but compound interest, your money will just start exploding and growing at a faster and faster pace. And the sooner you start doing that, the more magical it is. But it's not magic, it's just math.
I would add a couple of things to, well, I used to be in the hotel business, and I would always tell the younger folks when they got raises to put that in savings, because you're already living off of what you were making before. And so that raise is over and above what you're making. So just consider that all something you want to save versus something you want to put into your budget and expand your buying process. Obviously, the more you make, the more that you can do that differently. But I always felt like that was really important, to be able to at least get that saving started. And also when you get out into having jobs where you have 401ks and retirement plans and that kind of thing, be sure to use those as well, because there's a match your employer is going to give you. And it's a great way to, get your savings rolling and be able to have it there as you get older.
Yes, you're never going to regret saving money. You're never going to, at the end of this year, if you're able to save that $100 a month and you have $1,200 set aside that you've saved, you're never going to look at that and say, gosh, I wish I hadn't saved this $1,200. I wish I had spent it all.
Yeah.
You're just not going to do that. You're not going to regret it. And it's going to make you feel safer and more secure and less stressed out, because the thing that can make you cause the most craziness is financial insecurity. It's drug addiction doesn't compare to it. The self-destructive thing that can happen in life. I mean, being financially insecure can just beat you down to nothing and make you depressed and make you scared and anxious. So that's why it's so important to save, so that you're not stressed out when your car breaks down. You have money that you've set aside. You plan for that contingency.
Yeah, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if I go. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, sorry. So we have touched a little bit on credit cards, and those can be kind of scary, but the reality is you sort of have to have a credit card to survive these days. Two questions. So one is, how do you start that process as a young person who's just beginning a career, and use them wisely? What tips would you give for a new person in career? And secondly, you may have hinted at this already, but once you start making money and you're using a budget and you've started your savings, at what point or what amount, what's the basic amount if you want to also start investing, like with a company like yours, how much money would you need to realistically do that?
So the first question is the credit card. Yeah, a credit card can be a good thing. I have credit cards and I use them all the time. Okay. But a credit card can get you into trouble. For example, when you're swiping that card, it's not very visible to you. It's easy to put it in the back of your mind that you owe money to that credit card, and it can get away from you. You can forget about something, and then you get that credit card bill and you don't have the money at the end of the month to pay for it. So one of the things I do, I use a credit card as a convenience. I know I can buy it, but then I send a payment to the credit card, the same day or within a day or two after I make that charge, and it's paid off. The credit card company doesn't charge you interest. So let's just say you have your billing period is the first of the month, and it begins on the first of the month and it ends on the 31st of the month, or the last day of the month. They will give you until the 15th of the next month is when the due date is for that. And there's a minimum payment, which will not be the entire balance, but if you pay off the entire balance by that due date, the 15th of the following month, then you don't get charged any interest. But if you don't pay off the balance in full by that due date, then that's when you start getting charged interest. And that means that it's gonna cost you more than what you bought with the credit card to pay off that credit card. And so be very conscious if you get a credit card, that you're paying that balance off and not getting charged any interest. And keep track of that. Every credit card company is going to have an app that you can pull up and see your balance at any time, just like you can pull up your bank account app and see what your balance is in there. Make sure that you're paying that off. Don't spend the money that you're going to make in the future on today, because then you're going to not be able to save that $100 a month. So be very careful about that. Stay on top of that because it's easy to get away from. Now, the second question is, I think you had was the what amount of money to start investing after with a company like myself, like RBC.
Yes, like what minimum amount would get you started?
It doesn't make much sense unless you have $5,000 or $10,000 to start an account with a brokerage firm. And you want to have an emergency fund in your savings account. So I would recommend that you have a separate savings account, getting paid the most interest that the bank will offer you. There's online savings accounts that you can get that'll interest rates are high right now. You might be able to get 3 or 4% interest on it. But by not keeping your savings in your checking account and segregating it over to the savings account, that's segregating it over. So you know what you've saved and you know what you have to spend in your checking account, and you know what you've saved and set aside in previous months. You need to build that up and make it an emergency fund. And that's a different amount for everybody. $5,000 or $10,000 in that account is what you need to build up. Once you're at that point, then you have short-term contingencies covered. If you have a major car repair, or you have to buy a new car or something like that, then you have that emergency fund to fall back on. You don't have to use the credit card where you're going to get charged interest if you don't pay the balance off. The emergency cushion in your savings accounts covers the short-term contingencies, so that money that you invest for the longer term, which will make you more money over time, you don't have to draw from that. Because when you invest in things like the stock market, well, it goes up and it goes down. Now, it goes up a lot over time, but in the short term, it's very volatile. So money that you might need for a contingency in the short term, you should not have invested in the stock market, because it's uncertain what the balance is going to be in that investment account in the short term. But it's very certain that it's going to grow over a long period of time. So you need to, before you invest money, you need to be confident that this is money that I am not going to need to use in the short term. And that's why it's important to have that savings account there. If you don't have the short term covered, you're going to lose focus on the long term. But once you're at that point and you get that savings account up and you have that emergency fund, then it makes sense to start saving on a regular basis in an IRA or some other type of investment account, and save regularly in it. But I would say $5,000 or $10,000 is when it begins to make sense to open up an investment account.
Great, thank you.
Cool. Lots of great information. So unless there's any other final questions or final comments, we've learned a lot today about not only a career in finance, but also, more importantly, just some basic savings and budgeting strategies that you can get started with, since you will be exiting high school soon and going into the real world. So, are there any other questions? All right. Well, if there's no other questions, I think that we are done with our call for today. So I just want to say thank you all for joining us today, and we hope that this session has given you some insight into another career pathway, and also giving you some real world skills that you can use to shape your future. As a reminder, we do have some work-based learning calls. We have 3 more work-based learning calls before the semester is over. If you'd like to view any of those calls that are recorded, you can go to our website and go educationalliance.org and then find work-based learning. And we have all of the recordings from all of the businesses there. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.